The zone, a place of mystery and danger, where the very air seems to hum with an otherworldly energy, a scar on the face of the earth, a wound that never heals, constantly shifting and changing, a place where reality itself fractured, where the ground beneath your feet can betray you in an instant, where the laws of physics dance to an alien tune, objects float, time bends, and nothing is as it seems. It called to some, whispered promises of miracles and despair, a siren song that few can resist. It marked you, changed you. Those who enter are never the same, forever altered by its touch. I should know, I'm a stalker, one of the few who dare to venture into its depths. I navigate the zone's treacherous paths, guiding those desperate enough to seek its heart. Each step is a gamble, each breath a risk. The room, they say it grants wishes, a place of legend and myth where dreams and nightmares collide. But the zone is a fickle mistress, demanding respect, offering no guarantees. It tests your resolve, your very will to survive. Many enter seeking salvation. Few truly find it. The zone takes more than it gives, leaving behind only echoes of those who failed. The zone is a mystery, a whisper of something beyond our understanding, a riddle wrapped in an enigma. Some believe it's a crashed alien vessel, others a tear in the fabric of space-time. Theories abound, but the truth remains elusive. Whatever it is, it's changed everything. The world will never be the same, forever marked by the zone's presence. The government fears the zone. They've cordoned it off, declared it off limits. But barriers can't contain its influence. But where there's a will, there's a way. Those who seek the zone's secrets will always find a path. And I am the way. The guide through the unknown, the one who dares to walk where others fear to tread. The zone is alive. It breathes, it shifts, it hums with an energy you can feel in your bones. It's beautiful, in a terrifying, awe-inspiring way. But it's also deadly. Anomalies litter the zone, pockets of reality gone wrong. Gravitational anomalies can crush a man in an instant. Burners emit bursts of scorching radiation. And then there's the meat grinder, a swirling vortex of psychic energy that demands a life for passage. But the most dangerous thing in the zone is the zone itself. It plays tricks on your mind, whispers doubts, amplifies fears. It can turn friend against friend, hope into despair. The zone doesn't care about your desires. It doesn't care about your pain. It simply is. And to survive, you must learn to adapt, to respect its power, to tread lightly. Prison changes a man. It hardens you, sharpens the edges, but it also makes you appreciate the simple things. The warmth of the sun on your face, the taste of freedom, the love of family. My wife, she was waiting for me when they let me out. Stoic, strong, her face etched with worry. Our daughter Martishka, she was just a baby when they took me. Now she looked at me with wide, curious eyes, a stranger to her own father. They told me to stay out of the zone, that it was no life for a family man. They were right, of course, but the zone, it has a way of pulling you back in. The bar was a dingy hole in the wall, the kind of place that attracted those living on the fringes. The writer, he was all nervous energy and cigarettes, his eyes haunted by a lack of inspiration. The professor, he carried himself with an air of academic arrogance, his briefcase handcuffed to his wrist. They wanted to see the room. The writer, he craved the spark that would reignite his dying muse. The professor, he sought the knowledge that would secure his legacy. They were willing to pay, to risk everything for a chance to have their desires fulfilled. I warned them, told them the zone was no place for the faint of heart, that it tested you, broke you, showed you the darkest corners of your soul. They didn't listen. They never do. Section 5. The Rails of Uncertainty. We entered the zone under the cover of darkness, slipping past the military patrols, their eyes blinded by fear and searchlights. The air crackled with anticipation, with the unknown. We made our way through the ruins of a forgotten city, the buildings reclaimed by nature, their concrete bones picked clean by time. The writer, he scribbled frantically in his notebook, trying to capture the zone's essence in words. The professor, he documented everything with his camera, his face pale with a mixture of fear and excitement. We reached an abandoned railway line, the tracks twisted and overgrown. I pulled out my detectors, simple metal nuts tied to strips of cloth. The writer scoffed, but the professor, he understood. In the zone, the simplest tools were often the most reliable. Section 6. Whispers of Desire. As we journeyed deeper into the zone, the air grew heavy with something more than just the humidity. It was the weight of expectation, the burden of desire. The writer, he confessed his fear of becoming irrelevant, his words fading into obscurity. He craved the acclaim, the recognition, the validation that came with creating something meaningful. The professor, he spoke of his ambition, his relentless pursuit of knowledge, of his desire to leave his mark on the world. He saw the room as the key to unlocking the universe's secrets. I listened, their words echoing the desires of countless others who had walked this path before. The zone, it had a way of amplifying your desires, of stripping away your pretenses and revealing your true self. Section 7. At the threshold. The building loomed before us, a decaying concrete monolith, a testament to human ambition and the zone's indifference. This was it, the gateway to the room. We stood before the meat grinder, its swirling vortex of energy pulsing with an eerie light. It was a hungry thing demanding a sacrifice for passage. The air crackled with tension. Suddenly a phone rang. It was the professor's, his boss demanding an update. The professor, his voice trembling with excitement, he couldn't help but boast. He told him everything. About the zone, about the room, about his plan. His plan. Section 8. The room's judgment. The air was thick with an unsettling silence, the kind that makes your skin crawl and your heart race. The room with its dim lighting and eerie atmosphere seemed to hold its breath, waiting for the inevitable. The professor, his face flushed with a manic glee, pulled a bomb from his briefcase. His eyes gleamed with a dangerous light, a mix of desperation and determination. He had made up his mind, and nothing could sway him. He intended to destroy the room, to prevent others from suffering the same fate as Porcupine, a stalker who had gained wealth from the room only to take his own life. The professor believed that by obliterating the room, he could save countless souls from the same tragic end. The professor blamed the room for the world's ills, for the greed, the envy, the despair that plagued humanity. He saw it as a source of corruption, a place that magnified the darkest parts of the human soul. His anger was palpable, a burning fire that consumed him from within. He saw himself as a savior, sacrificing his own desires for the greater good. In his mind, he was a hero, ready to lay down his life to protect others from the room's malevolent influence. We argued, the writer and I, trying to reason with him, to make him see the folly of his actions. Our voices echoed in the empty space, a desperate attempt to reach the professor before it was too late. We pleaded, we shouted, but he was deaf to our words. The room, it wasn't inherently good or evil. It was a neutral entity, a blank canvas that reflected the innermost desires of those who entered. It held no malice, no benevolence, only the truth of one's own heart. It was a mirror, reflecting back your own desires, your own darkness. The room showed you who you truly were, stripped of all pretense and facade. It was a harsh, unforgiving reflection that few could bear to face. Porcupine, he hadn't valued the money. The wealth he gained from the room was meaningless to him, a hollow victory that brought no joy. It was a cruel irony, a reminder that material riches could not fill the void within. He had valued what it represented, power, control, the ability to escape his own demons. But the power was an illusion, a fleeting moment of control that slipped through his fingers like sand. But the zone, it doesn't let you escape yourself. It is a relentless force, a mirror that shows you the truth of your own soul. No matter how far you run, you cannot hide from what lies within. It only amplifies what's already there. The room magnifies your deepest fears, your darkest desires, and your most hidden truths. It is a place of revelation, a crucible that tests the very essence of your being. The professor, he finally broke down, the weight of his own hypocrisy crushing him. The realization hit him like a tidal wave, overwhelming and inescapable. He saw himself for what he truly was, and the sight was too much to bear. He dismantled the bomb, his dreams of glory turning to ash in his hands. The grand vision he had held onto so tightly crumbled before his eyes, leaving him with nothing but the bitter taste of defeat. The room, it had judged him, and found him wanting. In the end, the room's judgment was final, a stark reminder that one cannot escape the truth of their own soul. The professor left, a broken man, forever changed by the room's unyielding gaze. Section 9. Echoes of the Zone. We returned to the bar, the writer and I, our journey a failure in the eyes of the world. The weight of our unfulfilled quest hung heavily on our shoulders, a silent testament to the futility of our efforts. But the zone, it changes you. It leaves an indelible mark on your soul, a haunting echo that reverberates through your very being. It forces you to confront your own mortality, your own insignificance in the face of the vast cosmic indifference. The zone strips away the illusions of grandeur, leaving you bare and vulnerable. My wife, she was waiting for me, her face a mixture of relief and resignation. She had seen this look before, the look of a man who had ventured into the unknown and returned, but not unscathed. She knew I couldn't stay away from the zone, that it was a part of me now, just as much as she was. The zone had become an inseparable part of my identity, a calling I could not ignore. "Why?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. Her eyes searched mine, seeking answers to questions that had no easy answers. "Why do you do it? Risk everything for strangers, for their foolish dreams?" Her voice trembled with a mix of concern and frustration, unable to comprehend the pull of the zone. "Because someone has to," I replied, my gaze drifting towards Martishka, who was playing with a metal spoon, bending it with her mind without even realizing it. The innocence of her actions contrasted sharply with the weight of my words. Because maybe, just maybe, someone will find what they're looking for. In the midst of chaos and uncertainty, there is always a glimmer of hope, a chance for redemption, and maybe, just maybe, that will be enough. Enough to justify the risks, the sacrifices, and the endless search for meaning in a world that often seems devoid of it.